Hey guys, so I recently had surgery on Friday and I've been laid up on the couch. And I figured, well, hey, now's a great time to catch up on some documentaries that I haven't had the option to. And so that's what we did. And we watched a few. We watched one, Cyrus, on aliens and government conspiracies. That was always fun. We watched one on GMOs, OMG. That was a good movie on genetically modified organisms by Monsanto. And we watched one on the archaeological proof of the Exodus from the Bible. All really good movies. They were really quite interesting. But something that really got me kind of thinking is because whether people believe it or not, there is essentially a new world order that is being shaped, and it is coming into play, and there's little bits of the puzzle that are slowly fitting into place here and there, and different parts of the world can see a larger image of it now. And something that caught my attention, I think I probably have touched on it before, but I was thinking a little bit more about it today, is what do you and I need every single day to survive? We can go maybe a week, maybe a couple weeks without it, but essentially if we don't get it eventually, we will die. And lots of people do go days without it at a time. In fact, I think there's 1 billion people that are starving every day. And it's food. We all need food. One of the largest companies that produce genetically modified organisms, Monsanto, there's also a few others, but Monsanto owns, gosh, I can't even remember how much, an incredible amount. And something I was thinking about, well, these genetically modified organisms, say the corn that's modified to pretty much is a pesticide itself. It kills off insects, so it's repellent. This plant does not reproduce per se. It doesn't seed so that you can replant. You have to buy more seeds from Monsanto. How they deal with and get the seeds is beyond me. But the idea that you have to buy your crop every year is absolutely horrible. The fact that Monsanto crops, which are grown in plot A here, if they blow into crop B, an organic farmer's field, and contaminate his corn, he is now planting, or he is now farming a patented biological substance, and he now has to pay Monsanto. They'll either sue him or they'll force him to switch over to their GMO products and scrap his, and therefore he has to continue buying Monsanto seeds every year. Now, this is interesting. Pollination can take place over miles of property or land. They can be blown around, they can be carried by animals, carried by whatever insects are now have now adapted to Monsanto's modifications. These things are scary thoughts in the sense that soon all of our crops will be affected by genetically modified organisms. They will no longer be able to reproduce by themselves. Have you ever thought about what the bad news would be is if a giant corporation controlled all of the food source? I mean, even just say all the corn. Take a bunch of boxed items from your shelves. Excuse me. A majority of it contains corn syrup as a sweetener, an artificial sweetener, an additive. Cows and meat, generally cows, chickens, pigs, and whatnot, eat corn and soybean that's genetically modified. What else contains corn? Man, there's just a ton of things. It's found in a whole whack of products. So essentially your meat is genetically modified now. Your dairy products are all genetically modified. A large percentage of your plants have been affected. So not necessarily what you grow in your garden, but what you buy from the supermarket. GMOs, I mean, giant chain brands contain GMOs, and they carry them because for whatever reason their class is cheaper. Probably because they own a majority of the market. So genetically modified organisms who are sprayed all to hell with pesticides produce better in the short term. So studies have been done where genetically modified stuff outproduces organics. In the short term, now essentially what this does is the genetically modified stuff strips and poisons away the soil so the production gets down and lower, whereas the organic produces yields greater and greater as time goes on. So essentially, in the long term, organics produce the same as genetically modified and pesticide did all to hell stuff. That being said, we will not be using GMOs and pesticides 100 years in the future because hopefully as a species we will realize that this is horrible, it's killing our planet, and it's killing ourselves. A French study that was recently released, 2014-2015, I can't remember the fellow's name, did a study on lab rats, the same rats that Monsanto used to prove in a 3-month study that their products were safe. He's tested these rats over 2 years, and the rats got tumors. Like all of them developed mammary tumors or liver tumors. So, have you ever wondered why there's a huge increase in cancer and tumors in people, especially young people even nowadays? I mean, just in the last 2 years, like 5 or 6 of my family members and friends have got cancer between the ages of 20 and 73. And that's insane. I mean, it's an epidemic now, and this is partial evidence of where that is coming from and the reason for that. Now, if Monsanto produces all these huge amounts of GMOs, they're being spread all over the place and they're corrupting essentially all of our organic or natural crops. What we will see eventually is a huge market that is 99% controlled by huge corporations instead of by you and I who can plant, and farmers who can plant their own seeds and take seeds from each yield to plant for the next year. So now suddenly our entire farming market is taken over by a company and we have to pay big money for every season we grow. You don't pay, you don't grow, so now they've got a whole control over the food cap. Everything that you eat would essentially be controlled by a giant corporation. The implications of that, so giant corporation is in bed with government. I should say government's in bed with giant corporation. That's a better one. Giant corporation is controlled by certain organizations. Certain organizations deem for whatever reason, hey, we've got too many people, or hey, we want to make this government do this. Hey, we want this to do that. Let's cut their food supply. Because we've got the power. Yeah, we're just not going to sell you guys seeds, and when 3/4 of the United States can no longer grow anything, tough. You know, give us what we want, or hey, we want your people to die. Whatever the reason, you've now passed control from individual farming groups, small companies, small farming groups, small communities, even individuals like yourself and I, to a massive conglomerately funded small group of people. You know, we've taken the power from a few billion people, and we're just giving it bit by bit to, you know, a couple dozen, couple hundred, hey, maybe even a few. So the idea of that is very, very terrifying. I mean, even like a president is a scary idea. How many people are in the States? 356 million-ish? They're just like, yeah, sure, let's give this one guy all the power to do everything. I mean, that's supposed to be what we've got Congress, and we've got, I can't remember what it's called in Canada, the School of Sober Thought, something along those lines. We're supposed to have checks and balances for that, but money just overwrites all of it anyways. If a huge company wants their product to go through or doesn't want legislation against their product, they just throw money at politicians, which is essentially just bribery, to see things their way. Here, let me slip you a couple $100,000 to not vote that bill through. Well, okay, sure. I'm now a couple $100,000 richer, and all those farmers are now growing GMO crops. It's kind of how the system works. Now, all of this is part and parcel. You want to control the world, you control the world's food, you control the world's government, you control the world's finances, you control the world's religions. All of this is under one big umbrella, whatever you deem to call it. And this one big umbrella is soon to fold shut on everything. So everything will soon be controlled very tightly, including religion, including our finances, which are already pretty shoddy. Especially, you look at the United States, they have the Federal Reserve. I don't know how Greece is doing lately, but their dollar's, well, nil, and they're thinking of leaving the European Union. Everything's just going all to pot financially all over the world. I live in Canada. Everything is, it's like $4 for a head of broccoli right now. Like, it's insane. And this is the state of the world that we're living in, and it's not going to get better. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. I know everybody has hopes, and hey, we the people can fight. It will get better. Fortunately, that's not the case. There's too much money, there's too much power, and there's unseen forces, which I love to relate to because they are the cause and reason for all of this, that are controlling things and that simply won't allow humans to get a grasp and to fight this power back. So we're hooked, to break it down nicely to you guys. Anyway, so I just wanted to get that out there. Tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? GMOs, they're absolutely horrible, and me and my wife, we're now making this personal decision to stop shopping at Walmart for food, and we're working on not shopping there for anything, but it is hard when you do need certain supplies. They are the only department store in our town. To shop locally and to find out where our food is sourced from. So going to local supermarkets and asking where they get their food from, what sustainable practices their farmers are using to grow that food, and that kind of things. And so we're going to make that personal difference in our own lives, and hopefully for the better. I mean, maybe we won't get cancer. Hey, that's swell. Okay, that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Yeah, have a good one.